Andariki namaskaramulu. Shubhodayam. Today is the fourth day of our classes on Mahabharata by Dr. Karandam Nagaraja garu. So we will start the class after Vande Mataram and Prarthana. So we will request Chala Chetibabu garu to start Vande Mataram. Chala Chetibabu garu.
Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Sujalam, Sufalam, Malayajasitalam, Sasyashyamalam, Mataram, Vande Mataram. Subrajosna pulakitayamini Ullakusumita drumadala shobhini Suhasini Sumadhura bhashini Sukhadam varadam mataram Vande Mataram Vande Mataram.
Vande Mataram. ధన్యవాదములండి చల్లా చిట్టుబాబు గారు. Now let us request Satyaji to chant Prarthana.
Namaskaram. Let's do meditation for a minute. Gananam tva ganapatigam havamahe kavim kavinamupamashravastamam jeshtarajam brahmanam brahmanaspata anasrunvam nutibhis sidasadanam. Om Shri Mahaganadhipataye Namaha. Om Prano Devi Saraswati Vajebhirvajinivati Dhinam Avitriyavatu. Om Shri Mahasaraswatyai Namaha. Gurureva Gati Gurumeva Bhaje Gurunaiva Sahasmi Namo Gurave. Na Guru Paramam Shisurasmi Guru Matirasti Guru Mama Pahi Guru. Jnananandamayam Devam Nirmalaspatika Krutim Adharam Sarva Vidyanam Hayagrivam Upasmahe Sruti Smruti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Pada Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kruto Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Matrudevo Bhava, Pitrudevo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Atithi Devo Bhava. Om Sahana Bhavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahai. तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
ధన్యవాదములండి సత్య గారు. Now we'll hand over the platform to Nagaraja Rao garu and request him to start the webinar, please.
Bharadharam Vishnum Sasivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadhanam Dhyaye Sarvavighnopashantaye Sadasiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Good morning to all of you. Today is the third class on Mahabharatam. Fourth class, I'm sorry, it is the fourth class on Mahabharata. In the first class, what we discussed was introduction to Mahabharata. We discussed the first day. On the second day, broadly we discussed dharma. We discussed different types of dharmas. What is dharma? That we discussed by way of Dharma Vyadha story. We discussed. The second day we discussed artha. We discussed. Not second day, third day. First day was introduction. Second day was dharma. We discussed. Third day we discussed artha. We discussed. That is Agastya, how he wanted to earn riches. Because of the riches only he can go to his wife. So that was the thing we discussed in the third class. We discussed. Today is the fourth class. We will be discussing Kama. We will be discussing. So because of Purusharthas, we are having four Purusharthas. We are having Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Today we will be discussing Kama aspect. We will be discussing. And what is Kama? What is how it is differentiated from lust? For what purpose marriage is being done in olden days in Sanatana, according to Sanatana Dharma, Sampradaya. And then for this purpose also, again, like any other lecture, here also what I would like to take is that I would like to take two stories probably. One is pure Mahabharata, that is called pure. Everything is of course Mahabharata only. That is main storyline, story narrative, that is Pandava storyline. And one more thing is that of course Upakhyana, that is available in Mahabharata and also Ramayana. Both I will be taking. This is because, but the particular story is there both in Mahabharata and Ramayana. One is called Bhima's marriage with Hidimba. I will be discussing, and the second thing is I will also be discussing Shiva's marriage with Parvati. Both I will be discussing because that is there as a Upakhyana that is available in the text, and of course Bhima's marriage with Hidimba is discussed regularly in the text that is discussed. So both stories I would like to discuss and come out with certain conclusions. What is meant by Kama that has been defined in Sanatana Dharma. That we will try to do it today. Most of the other persons may be knowing the story of Bhima and Hidimba, but certainly I can say that there are certain aspects of story which might not have been studied by some people because whichever film we see and whichever place we go, and normally this storyline will be missing. Let us see what exactly is there in Bhima Hidimba story, because we feel that it is a known story, but here also there is unknown elements are there in this story. Thus, because of this reason, I would also like to tell the story. Also, I will be telling little bit story. Also, I will be telling. Here, what happens is that this is the background. Is that the background is that of the destruction of that Lakshagruha. Lakshagruha, Lakh House, what we can call a Lakh House, has been burnt by Duryodhana's people, Purochana. And then what happened is that subsequently Pandavas, and of course, how it was destroyed, who put fire and all these things, I am not discussing, please. These are intricate subjects because, of course, Bhima has put fire for it, and that aspect I am not discussing here. And once that was burned to ashes, Pandavas they wanted to leave very so quickly. They wanted to go out of that place. They entered it to that particular spot where they have dug a thing, and then through that they wanted to come out of that tunnel. They wanted to come out of the tunnel. It was dark night, and the forest is. They reached the forest, which was very dense at the time. That place they reached, and throughout the place also they have to go to a longer distance, and they could not walk also in the night on that day. Dharmaraja then requested Bhima, "Why don't you, Bhima, please, why don't you carry all of us like that?" And Bhima was having such a strength that he could carry all the people. He could carry all the people with single-handedly. He can go like that. Too much to that extent, he was having vigor and vitality, and so he was moving with all the people. So ultimately, he reached a certain spot where it was actually a calm, cool place, and there he kept all his brothers, sisters, and all those persons. They were actually sleeping mode only, and they immediately once they were kept there, and immediately Dharmaraja felt very thirsty. Was asking, why don't you bring some water somewhere here? Because it is almost the situation is such that they could not sustain the thirst also. That was the situation. Bhima was still having that energy. So he could identify here Mahabharata they will be discussing. Apart from, of course, that story element today is Kama only. But still the story we are having certain other features also we come across in the story. That also I would like to discuss. Anyway, when we discuss the story, apart from the because our theme is Kama today, instead of discussing this, though we are discussing Kama, at the same time we'll be discussing other elements which are embedded in the story that is also there. So here, how to identify it as a dark night. In the dark night, he has to identify the spot where water is available. That was the situation. But Dharmaraja was asking for water. And one thing is that when the king, he's a king. That king is asking water, he is in such a pathetic stage on that day. And what to do? Bhima thought for a while how to identify water. Then Mahabharata it is mentioned that there are certain birds which make certain noise. Water birds will be there. The near water area wherever the water is available, there they will be making sound. So he heard because in those days maybe the olden days the people who are having such an intelligent the intelligence they were having that they could identify where exactly which bird is making sound and for what spot. So he could identify that water birds making sound at particular direction. So Bhima went in that direction and found a pool of water, big water pond was there. So there the birds were making sound. So he identified like that. See, this is how all these small points also we come across in Mahabharata. So when he went there, what happened is that he saw the water body. He took a bath because he was totally that day tired on that day. So he took bath, and then once he has taken bath, he has taken water also, and then he has to bring the water. How to bring the water? Bringing water is a difficult task because he is not having anything in his hand. That was the situation. But here there are two versions. One is in Mahabharata that is there in Telugu Mahabharata. One aspect is that in Mahabharata that is written by VSS and some other way it is there. But I will be discussing only the Vyasa Mahabharata storyline only. I am telling. Here what he does is that he took out his what is called towel that was there over his shoulder. He put the towel inside it, and fully it is what is called, it's totally wet one, because without doing it, what is it, as it is, he picked up with water and all this is, and he brought it here. So here the Dharma Shastra says that anything, the water, we are not supposed to take water which is soaked with a towel or any cloth, something of that nature. Manudharma Shastra we come across this story, because normally we are not supposed to take any water which is actually wherein we have put in some cloth, something of that nature. We are not supposed to take it. But here he has brought that water. Why he has brought that water? It is apadharma. Because in order to save the life of the people, sometimes you transgress dharma, whatever dharma that is there, it is okay because the situation is like that. So what he thought is that he brought that one only. By that time, what happened? Luckily, these persons already slept. He was not having time to give, and those people were not awake. By the time they already slept. So he kept the towel aside and he was guarding all those persons throughout the night, because he was seeing the kings lying on the floor. He has seen his mother lying on the floor, and he was totally angry. He was filled with very much anger, because a person who is destined to rule the world as a whole is ordained to sleep in this forest. So he thought, what a fate for us. Like that, he was thinking like that, and he was guarding the entire area like that. So the forest was actually belonging to a Asura by name Hidimbasara. All we know this story, of course. Hidimbasara, he could smell the Naravasana. He could smell the what is that? Some naras, that is called. Some human beings have entered into the forest. He wanted to have them killed, and then he wanted to have a great feast on that day. So immediately he ordered his sister, Hidimba, why don't you go kill all those persons, whoever they are that are there, and bring them like that. So Hidimba also, in a great enthusiasm, she also went there, obeying the orders of her brother. When she went there, initially she looked at Bhima, and she was actually on the seeing this manly manners, mannerism, and all these things of this particular Bhima. She was totally infatuated. So then she will be telling, then she will be describing Bhima. I will be just telling the shloka, because the shloka I don't know by heart. Ayam Shamo Mahabhavu Simhaskando Mahadyuti Kambugrivaha Pushkarashaha Bharta Yukto Bhaven Mama. This is what it is. Ayam Shamo Mahabhahu. This person is actually Shamavarna person. Mahabhahu, that is called the broad shoulders. He is having Simhaskanda. And then he actually he is brown in complexion, thick muscles like a mighty what is called lion. And then Bharta Yukto Bhaven Mama, if he becomes my Bharta, that is called my husband, this is actually the blessing for me, like that. She thought like that. He was having Kambugrivaha, that is bone like neck. So he was describing Bhima like that, and she was actually infatuated by Bhima. And then she came nearer to Bhima. And when coming to nearer to Bhima, she thought, okay, how bad my brother is. My brother is a so cruel person. She thought for a while. She thought like that. My brother is a cruel man. He wanted to kill these people unnecessarily. If I kill, what will happen? And one day I can have a great feast. That is ephemeral. That is not going to satisfy my thirst. And if I marry this gentleman, what will happen is that I will be having eternal peace, eternal happiness. In that way, she thought. So see, this is why until a few seconds back, she was a sister for a person. Now on seeing the new person, because the infatuation is such that she has fallen in love, and she is praising Bhima, and she denigrating his brother also, not leaving his brother. At least she could have left his brother, but she is also telling that my brother is a so cruel person, like that she was telling. And she, because she was having this magical powers she was having, because she happens to be an Asura, she converted herself into a beautiful damsel, and she walked towards Bhimasena. Bhimasena saw her. Then who are you, like that, he asked. Then she was telling, I am actually, because even though she is of that day, she came like that. And she actually told the truth. She told, I am the sister of a Asura. And I am also an Asuric lady only. Because on seeing you, what happened is that I have forgotten, my senses are not under my control. So here I am coming to you. I am seeking your blessings, and I would like to marry you also. And now, right now, what will happen if I don't take all of you to the spot of my brother? At any point of time, he may come and he may kill all of you. So because of this reason, what I do is that I will take you. I will take you and I'll rescue you, and I'll take you to an unknown destination wherein we can be happily spend our lives. Then this is how she was telling. Then Bhima told, what are you talking? Can I leave my brother here and go away with you? What are you thinking of me? Because here this is my brother is there. He is actually a king. He is a king. He is lying like this, and she is my mother. And one more thing is that if I marry you, my brother has not married. And if I marry you, what will happen? People will think that I am a foolish person. and they will call me Parivetta. There is a terminology in Sanskrit, please. The terminology is called Parivetta, P-A-R-I-V-E-T-T-A, Parivetta. Parivetta means in Sanskrit, the Parivetta means actually a person, a brother, who marries a lady when his elder brother has not married. That person will be getting certain sort of sins. That sins are also actually attached in Dharma Sutras. So this is, he will be attaining some what is called some sort of sin he will be attaining. For that prayaschitta he has to do, and all these aspects are there again. And again it is not permitted. And there are some exceptional situations are there where it is permitted. That is, their brother has to agree, and then our brother is not in a position to marry. These type of certain exceptions are there. Those type of things are not required. Anyway, Bhima is invoking the dharmic principle only. He is invoking here, and he was telling that if I transgress dharma, I will be attracting the epithet of what we can call parivetta in the eyes of the society. So then he was telling that Bhima was telling that let your brother come. I will fight with him. That is what he was telling. But what happened here is that she was arguing with him. Then she was telling, not only you, all of you I will take away. All of you I will take away if you permit me. Then I will take you to unknown destination. All of you I will save. Please take me. Please take me. Take my hand. Like that she was requesting. But Bhima was not listening. He loves fighting. So what he was telling is that no, I would like to fight with your brother only. So and by the same here, what happened? The Asura was actually restless, and Hidimba has not come. He wanted to immediately come there, and he was coming there with a lot of anger and all these things. He saw his sister in a beautiful form, and she is in a damsel form. She is there, and she was very immediately, and seeing her, he realized that this lady has fallen in love with this man. He was still more angry, and immediately, instead of killing those persons, he wanted to devour this lady only. This is his sister only. He was about to prowl over her. Then at the time, what happened is that Bhima caught hold of him. Like a lion catching hold of a deer, he caught hold of him, and he was taking him to a long distant place. He took him because they should not disturb the peace of their brother and mother, brothers and mother also. So he caught hold of him and he dragged him to a distant destination, and then their great duel took place. When it was to, they were taking out what we call rocks. They fought with roots of the trees, all this is whatever that is available. Everything they fought together, and ultimately what happened is that before the war could end, the Pandavas woke up because of the disturbance that is happening in a long distance. Then immediately after waking up, Arjuna felt that it is coming up dark. The dusk is about to dawn. So what he thought that the Rakshasas energies will enhance at this stage. So he immediately rushed to the Bhima and he was telling that, shall I help you like that? Bhima told, don't want. Because the Dharma dictates that only one-to-one fight should be there. You are not supposed to enter here. If you enter here, what will happen? I will be feeling ashamed of myself like that. Then Arjuna tells, then I will be suggesting you one thing. Because it is almost getting dark. If it becomes still dark, the asuric pravritti will increase much more. So kill him immediately like that. Then immediately it is easy, because whenever Bhima fighting with any other person is discussed in Mahabharata, it is told that he will be playing with the other person. Unless just like that, he loves fighting. That is why he wanted to extend the fighting for a many number of hours only. Beyond that, nothing is there. So here is that he is a way of killing any person, particularly that what is called Jarasandha. Jarasandha, of course, in a different way because of some reasons. But Bakasura when he killed, or Kishaka when he killed, or any other person he killed, great demons particularly, what he was doing is that he used to put those persons, take them up, put them round, swirling, then put them on the floor. Then what will be he will be doing is that he will break the backbone of that person and then kill him like that. That was the way he was killing the people. So in the same fashion, he killed this person. So Hidimba got killed. Then what happened is that once that was killed, the act is over. Pandavas wanted to move further. So what happened is that everyone praised Hidimba. And then they started moving. They started moving towards a town nearby. Okay, let us go to a town nearby. Like that they were going. Hidimba was following, and she was thinking that somebody will talk to her. Nobody was talking to her. She was going like that. And Bhima was not at all looking at her. So what happened is that then she again from the back of Bhima, she was requesting, you are going away like that, leaving me like this. My brother is also killed. Where I can go? Please marry me like that, she was telling. Then Bhima turned back and he was telling that you may be a deceiver again because you may be having a lot of revenge against me now because your brother I have killed. You are also destined to go. You are also what is called worthy to be killed right now. I would like to kill you also because anytime you are an Asuri lady, anytime you can come back and prowl upon us, so I would like to kill you also like that. Then Dharmaraja prevented. No, you are not supposed to kill a lady. This is not dharma. Then he was telling. Then Kunti was also warning Bhimasena, don't be aggressive because you killed the Asura. That is enough. Don't be harsh with the lady like that. Then she got a clue. She approached Kunti. And then she was asking Kunti. There beautiful shlokas are there here. Oh lady, she was pleading with Kunti. My dear Madam Ji, and what I can you tell that you know that the pangs of love, you know. She was telling as if Kunti, she was telling that you taking her into confidence. I am also a lady, you are also a lady. The pangs of love that a lady suffer from the heart and all this she was discussing. You know how ladies suffer from the pain of love. I am bitten by the arrows of love and I am suffering like this. Now I left my people also. My people are also not with me. I am following this man. If he rejects me, the only alternative for me is death. Please think of it because you, all of you will be responsible for my death also. So in that case, you will be attaining sin. Please understand my difficulties. I am not actually doing something harsh. I am not doing. She was telling like that. Then please permit our marriage. What I will be doing is that I will be having certain special what is called powers I am having. With those powers, I can predict the future. Also, I can predict the future. What happened to you earlier? Also, I know. I know how you suffered in the lack house. How Duryodhana parted against you. All these things she tells. And then again, she will be telling that. And you have come out of that place and you want to hide yourself because right now you don't have the enough strength to what is called to face Duryodhanas and all those persons because the story is such that when the entire episode took place, Pandavas were actually hiding when they were moving in the guise of Brahmins precisely for the reason that at the time, just before a few months back only, Yudhishthira was became Yuvaraja in that Indraprastha area, and then he Hastinapur area, and then he was ruling the country. He was actually Yuvaraja, and Dhritarashtra was actually behaving like a Raja, and Duryodhana was not given any post. At the time, Duryodhana hatched this plot, and he wanted to kill the Dharmaraja and other Pandavas. So the Dhritarashtra only requested them to go to some other place. They went to some other place. They went there, and at the time, there the entire plot was hatched, and they wanted to kill these persons. So Pandavas were afraid to face Duryodhana and other persons because they may hatch any other plot to kill them. Right now they don't. They are having the legal right over the kingdom, but they are not possessing the kingdom. That is the legality is there, but possessionship is not there for them. And again, they don't have any support from any quarter except Vidura. Vidura is power-wise is a very weak person. Bhishma is keeping quiet. Drona is keeping quiet because they are actually impartial towards both persons. They are not interfering in the internal affairs of this kingdom and all these things. So they are keeping aloof. And Dhritarashtra is actually dictating the terms. Dhritarashtra is also in favor of Duryodhana. And what is happening is that they don't have the that political support that is required for ruling the country. That is totally not available. So now the strength is not there. As long as they gain the strength, they don't want to reveal their identity. So that is the reason why they came in the form of the Brahmins and they were moving like that. And when they come back again, we come across a story. Once they marry Draupadi, only at that time they become close relatives of Drupada. Drupada becomes their uncle. When they becomes their father-in-law, at that time only they emerged and revealed their identity. At that time again they got back the kingdom. Of course, that is the separate set of story. Here what happens is that here they are in the guise of Brahmins only now. They were moving like that. When they were moving like that, here she was asking for marriage, and they were going like that. And she was begging for marriage. And she was telling that all this is background story. Also, she was telling, I am having all these powers, and also I can assure you that if I am if my marriage takes place with Bhimasena, I will protect all of you, and not only now, in future also, whatever difficulty if you come across, if you call me, what I will be doing is that I will come to your help, and I will be at your rescue all the time. I am going to become your dasi. To that extent, she was pleading. Then Kunti thought for a while, and she looked at Yudhishthira and told, and why don't, is it okay for Hidimba to get married with Bhimasena? And because she was having, of course, she was having divine power, she was having, and she can foresee all these things. All these things they heard. Because of this reason, she looked at the Yudhishthira and told, okay, what is your opinion? Dharmaraja also thought for a while, and she told, it is okay for me if Bhima marries this lady. And then agreed. They agreed for the marriage. Kunti immediately took turned towards Bhimasena, and he was telling, you have to marry this lady. You marry, because you don't argue with me anymore. Because you are feeling that you will become a parivetta, and you will be attaining sin. Now your brother also will agree. As a mother, I am also agreeing. Please marry him. Then Dharmaraja looked at Hidimba, and he told, yes, I permit you for your marriage, but I condition is there. See, these conditions are there, please, here. The condition is that you can take Bhimasena to any place of your liking in the mornings. Early morning itself, you can take Bhimasena to any place. Roam around as you like. But you should be back by night. You should hand over before the sunset. And you should be with us throughout the night. So this is the condition he has put. See, why the condition is put and all this is I will be discussing once the story is over, please. So here normally a couple is there, a man and woman, they are getting married. Once the marriage is over, they have to spend their nights. But here Dharmaraja is telling that he is putting a condition. The condition is that you can be with Bhima in the mornings, the daytime, and you can't be with him in the nights. And the reason she was also not knowing, or she may be knowing, we don't know. The reason why he told like that we will be discussing later. And then he was telling that this is the condition. Is it okay for you? Then Hidimba agreed. Then Kunti told again Bhimasena, and she is agreeing all whatever Dharmaraja is telling. You marry her. Then Bhima looked towards her, and he told, okay, because my mother is telling, because I am really not interested in marrying you, but still my mother is telling and my brother is telling, I will marry you. But with a condition again. The condition is that I can't be with you throughout the life. Once you beget a boy, a child, on the day I will be leaving you. Is it okay for you? For that also Hidimba agreed. Because she was totally so much in love with this person. Then what happened is that then Hidimba married him, took him to the celestial beautiful spots on the earth, whatever that is there, flowery gardens, the raving beaches, the deep ridges, so many things Mahabharata discusses, the crispy sand banks, the mountain peaks, whatever may be, name anything that is there, that place, dark clouds and celestial fountains, and all these places she took him to different destinations. She took it, and she was enjoying with him. And in the evening, she used to bring him back and put to Dharmaraja's place, and she was leaving him like that. It was going on. What happened is that ultimately after 1 year, and she became pregnant. And on the spot, what happened is that Satyogarbha, not 1 year, please, I'm sorry. Here actually Satyogarbha, they tell, the Garbha will happen and immediately boy is born, because certain rishis and also certain asuri persons, both persons are having this power of Satyogarbha. We discuss in many places, we come across this storyline. And because when we come across a similar story in Parashara and Matsyagandhi storyline also, wherein Parashara meets Matsyagandhi in the what is called boat only, and the same on the same spot only she delivered a baby. Here also same thing. because she is also having certain powers. Because of this power, and Satyogarbha birth took place, and on the spot the boy was born. And the boy, when he was born, what happened is that his entire head was actually around like pot. Ghata. Ghata is there, no ghata. Kacha in means in Sanskrit we call it as kacha, means the hair. Ghatot kacha means utkacha, because the hair, 2 or 3 hair was there for him, and the 2-3 hair was actually rising like this. Because of this reason, he was named as Ghatot kacha. People used to name like that in earlier days, because whatever is akara is there, accordingly they used to put it. Nowadays, and we are putting very good name, we will be putting, maybe may not be matching with the akruti of that particular person. That is there, of course, different. But here they have put the baby's name, the child name as Ghatot Kacha. That boy is also become, immediately he was grown up person only. And then he fell on the feet of Pandavas and also fell on the feet of Kunti. And then he was telling that now I will be taking my mother. I will go to certain areas, Himalaya areas, I will be going there. And whenever you are having any work, you call me aloud, Ghatot Kacha, I will be coming to you and I will be helping you like that. And he went out. And he took his mother, and mother and she also bid farewell to all the people, and they left the place. And this is the story. But here, what is the story here? The storyline, we have to you have to understand the story, why these conditions are put. What is the type of love Hidimba was having? Is it actually dharmic love or adharmic love? Is it permitted or not permitted? That is more important than the story, please. This is the important aspect of the story. Here, what we see is that this is actually a romantic love story. A romantic love story means, it is, of course, it is a one-sided love. But Hidimba could not sustain the what is called, she could not control her senses at all on seeing Bhima. And the very first sight itself, she decided that she should marry this man. When she decided to marry this man, she was even hating her brother also. And what she wanted to do is that she wanted to take Bhima to any destination of her choice. And then Bhima, when he rejected, what happened is that, and he was not willing to marry, because he was telling that it is a parivetta, I will become a parivetta, which I don't want, and all these things. And then here, even after all these things, what we have to observe here is that she has not become angry. That is more important. She never become angry. Here, one thing is that Bhagavad Gita, one beautiful shloka we come across. Sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho bhijayate. Krodhat bhavati sammohaha sammoha smriti vibhramaha smriti bhramsho buddhinasha buddhinasha pranashyati. It's a very beautiful shloka, because the fall of man, how it will happen, is beautifully described in this particular shloka. It is for understanding this shloka, maybe I think for all these people who are in the audience, they are exposed to Bhagavad Gita class also by some other person. So you might have read this particular shloka. Here what they are telling is that Sangha Sanjayate Kamaha. Sangha is there, no? The attachment with any object of particular object, what will happen? It leads to Kama. Sangha Sanjayate Kamaha. With Kama, when it is not attained, it becomes Krodha. Because it is actually, sometimes people will be taking revenge because the Kama is not fulfilled. When the lust is not, this is called, it is not a real Kama, what the people tell. Here Bhagavad Gita tells that is not a Kama, that is only a lust only. When the lust is there, what will happen? You are actually loving, if you really love a person, you can't hate him. That is the idea here. If you really love a person, you can't hate him at any point of time. Even if he agrees for marriage, if he doesn't agree for marriage, here what will happen is that you will love him only all the time, because love is actually, it can't be hate. Love can be only love, it can't be hate. That is the idea that is given in this story. Here, when Bhima rejects and she was moving on his own, even without looking at her, she never get any angry. She was not feeling any angry. And she was feeling that she was not feeling angry, and also she was actually pursuing his pursuit. She was actually a dharmic love, because really she has loved, nothing wrong. Dharma viruddho kamaha bhuteshu Dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshapha, like that Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, which is the kama which is not aviruddha, it is not viruddha for dharma. That is dharma baddha kama is personification of me only. That is the idea that is given by Sri Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita only the particular sentence we come across. So here also dharma viruddho kamaha bhuto asmi bharatarshapha. That is what he tells. Here that is the idea here. She is actually really loving. She never get any anger. And then in order to understand this story in a better fashion, we have to look back at what happened for Shurpanaka. Shurpanaka story also, if you go to the Ramayana, because when we compare and contrast only, we come across which is dharmic love and which is adharmic love. Here, Shurpanaka is there. Shurpanaka and Rama and Lakshmana and Sita were there in the forest. Rama was a married person. The wife is very much present there. At that time, she was approaching Rama. Again, that is, you see, here she is a married person. And approaching a married person is adharma. And she was approaching the Rama. When Rama told, no, I am a married person, my wife is here only. Why don't you approach Lakshmana? My wife is somewhere in Ayodhya, he was telling. Then she approaches Lakshmana, she approaches. When she approaches Lakshmana, Lakshmana says, no, I don't want to, because I am a servant here. And why don't you marry with a servant? You go to a king or king only. Why don't you go to Rama again and request him? Again, he goes to Rama. And again, when Rama refuses, what she feels that because this is only because of Sita, this entire problem is happening. This is Sita is obstruction for my marriage and all this. She gets anger. Out of anger, she wanted to divorce Sita herself. Sita on the spot. That was the background there. Here, the anger has sprouted out of that lust, because the lust has not been satisfied. When the lust is not satisfied, the Krodha has emerged out of her heart. That is that storyline. That is Shurpanaka's love. But the love that is supposed love. And here this love is not like that. That wavering love, whenever that wavering love will be there, no, her love was wavering towards Lakshmana and also Rama. Both ways she was going. This side also she was going. That side also she was going. That the wavering love, what we can call, is a lust which is not in tune with dharma. The Hindu scriptures actually, whenever whichever place you go there, what they tell is that they say that loving is not a taboo. It is actually permitted. It is permitted. Even now it is permitted to love some other person, and you can marry that person, and it is not a taboo also, and which can be put under the carpet, and you can openly disclose your love, nothing wrong, because such a beautiful environment, not a beautiful or not beautiful, we don't say, but that is an environment is such that it is nothing wrong in disclosing that you are in love with some other person. To that extent, the society in Mahabharata days was in that fashion. It was there. A genuine love is well permitted. And as I told you, dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshava, like that Krishna also is telling. So here, this is how the story goes. Then Hidimba was approaching an unmarried man here. An unmarried man he is approaching. And again, only thing what she was doing is that her elder brother has not been married. But there are Dharma Sushmata says that even when the elder brother permits, and the elder brother is not willing to marry at a particular time, if his permission is there, then this person can marry. So she that also she knows. That is why she explains the dharmic principle and approaches Bhimasena and also Kunti and all these persons. Here, this is about Kama aspect. Anyway, before going to some other story discussing about Kama, we will be discussing here one aspect. What is the reason why Dharmaraja has put that condition? He was telling that you roam around with Bhima during the daytime and you should bring him back by night. That was the condition he has put. And Bhima is putting one condition, that the condition is that I shall be with you till you give birth to a child. These two conditions are there. For both conditions, she agreed and she married. And what was the reason here? That was the thing. Where here, the reason is that, and Yudhishthira was having a lot of insights in Rajaniti, please. Because there may be, if at all any class is there for Mahabharata, Rajaniti and all this is, maybe we come across that type of situation. And I think Veda Samskrita Samiti is also thinking in those lines to have the second line of course for all of you, maybe who pass out all this examination, they wanted to introduce one more second line, because it's called Sanatana Dharma. This is the first level. There is a second line. There they wanted to introduce this course also, Rajaniti in Mahabharata, like that. There we come across here, Rajaniti, what it tells is that, and you require a person. What is the important is that a person has to be born. An Asura is also required on the side of Pandavas. Why it is required? Duryodhana is full of Asuras on his side. That Dharmaraja knows. When Asuras will be coming into the battlefield at any point of time, the imminent battle they were knowing from the beginning, please. That is there. Even on the day they decided the post of Yuvaraja and Dharmaraja was becoming Yuvaraja, and these people were hatching a plot. And even earlier to that also, when Duryodhana wanted to kill Bhima by giving poison and all these things, from that day onwards, Dharmaraja was having a suspicion that one day or other day the battle is going to be fought. That is there. Even Kunti also knows it. So what he was thinking at that particular point of time is that, okay, there are two reasons for Dharmaraja was telling. One is that, and here Bhima should be safe. The Asuric pravrittis will get enhanced in the nights. So Bhima should not be in the company of Hidimba in the nights. That is one aspect. Even the Bhima is a great powerful person, even he could destroy Hidimbasura, even then also, with this Asuric Maya and all these things, what Hidimba is going to do to Bhimasena, and he was suspicious. That is one thing. So that is the reason why Bhima should come back in the night. That is one thing. The second thing is that he should have one Asuric person, he should be on his side. And what is the probability that the boy that is going to born to Hidimba from Bhima is going to become an Asura? That is an important aspect, because the Dharmaraja felt that if what an Asura is there on my side also, that person may be helpful in the future battlefield. Fine. But how can he predict that the person that is going to be born in to Bhima and Hidimba is going to become a Asura? And there lies the matter, please. Here, Dharmaraja is so foresight, he was having so foresight, and Kunti was also having a lot of foresight that, and they know that love making during daytime is broadly unacceptable in our scriptures, because it is not permitted. Not broadly, it is not acceptable at all. If a person is born out of love making in the during daytime, what will happen is that the person that is going to born is going to be definitely an Asura. That is why only Hindu samskaras, Sanatana Dharma says that a couple should not meet in the daytime. Only that certain time is there for that. Only in that time only they have to meet. And you believe it or not, if you begin to see this Manudharma Smriti and also Yajnavalkya Smriti, we come across many other restrictions they have imposed. On certain days, the meeting of the male and female is not permitted. That is also there, please. And similarly, they will be discussing this Amavasya day and some other day. And those days, specific days are there, which we are not discussing today, because there are certain days are also mentioned. And after this regular periods, what days the making of love is prohibited, those type of things very meticulously they discuss and they put it in the form of Dharma Shastras only they have put it. So love making in the daytime, what will happen? It will result in the birth of an Asura. And we can see, we can establish this particular fact with the story of what we can call Titi approaching Kashyapa Prajapati. Kashyapa Prajapati, you know, he is having two wives, he was having many wives, of course, Diti and Aditi. And Aditi approached him in the right time and she got Adityas, that is called Devatas. Diti approached him at the, it is about to, the sun was about to set. At that time she went there and she approached Kashyapa and he was asking a boon for her children. And Kashyapa asked, what are you asking now? What is the time? What is the Samaya now? What is the time now? At this period you are asking for this peculiar thing you are asking. The persons who are going to born will be cruel and demonic for the persons only. And but she could not control her senses. She was willing to have love at the time only. And Kashyapa agreed. And the ultimate thing is that Daityas were born. And this is the line. This is a storyline. Here also a son born out of love in broad time is going to become a demon. So we can say Diti case is there. So when similarly, but of course you can ask. Parashara also approached Matsyagandhi in the boat in the daytime only. But here, what happened is that that situation, if you see Mahabharata, what happens is that the lady Batchaganti tells Parashara. Now this is the entire thing is total light is people sitting in the other boats also can look at us, and at this situation, it is not good on our part to have love in this boat like that she tells. At the time, Parashara, what he did because his power of his taposhakti, he creates what we can call totally dark area. The entire thing becomes dark. When it becomes dark, it is as if it is a night only, and then he meets with her, and then because of this reason, Veda Vyasa, that is the storyline there, please here. Here, the storyline here, Dharmaraja, he was having all these things, he knows all these things, and perhaps he wanted a demonic, and then also we come across one beautiful, what is called, way of expressing this entire episode in Chaitanya Mahabharatam is there. No, Chaitanya Mahasundara Chaitanya Nandi, Sundara Chaitanyananda has written a book on Mahabharata. 2 volumes it is there. In one of the volumes he writes, of course it is in Telugu. If it is loosely translated, what it tells is that I have written down here. Just I will read out. Dharmaraja perhaps wanted a demonic child capable enough to destroy the demons on the side of Duryodhana in case of any eventuality, and at the same time pious enough to support dharmic cause. See, this is how Sundara Chaitanya says Chaitanyananda, Sundara Chaitanya Swamiji of he is there in Mysore. He is there. He has written this book, beautiful book. Mahabharata he has written. Similarly, Ramayana also he has written 2 volumes. Mahabhagavatam also he has written 2 volumes. In Mahabharata volumes, but he has 2 volumes only, small books only, of course. All events of Mahabharata are not there, but the important events of Mahabharata are discussed. So there he was telling like this: Dharmaraja perhaps wanted a demonic child capable enough to destroy the demons on the one side, on the side of Duryodhana, and in any eventuality, and at the same time pious enough to support dharmic cause of the these Pandavas. Like that he was telling. So here Dharmaraja was sure that the man who is going to born out of love making in the daytime is going to become an asura. But why he can't become an asuric pravritti? Again, that is also there. Because he also knows that even though it is a daytime, he is going to become an asura, sure. But asura, whether will he be pious or will he be not be pious? Because Dharmaraja also knows that he will be a pious person only, because here the strength of Hidimba will be less in the morning compared to Bhima's strength. Because of this reason, what will happen? Bhima is more powerful in morning. Even he is powerful more in the night also, and daytime also his powers are more. But still, at any cost, Bhima's power will be much more than Asuric powers of Hidimba. Because of this reason, what will happen? Asuric pravritti of that lady will get diminished in the presence of Bhima's presence. So because of this reason, she will be having only a pious baby, and at the same time an Asuric pious dharmic person. At the same time, he was also an Asura who will be having all the strength and all these things. Because he was Bhima was a Vayuputra, and Vayuputra's Putra, how will be there? And in Mahabharata it is discussed that he was having the strength of Ravanasura. Like that it is discussed. It described like that. The Ghatotkacha's powers were such that he was having the strength and ability to the equaling to the strength of Ravanasura he was having in those days. So this is how this is Rajaniti is also there embedded in this, and at the same time Bhima, that is the Rajaniti of what we can call Dharmaraja. And Kunti and also other persons agreed because they really realize that this lady is going to help us in future. That is also there. Second thing is that her love is not actually an asuric love. It is not there. It is a dharmic love. Because of this reason, they agreed for the marriage. Then Bhima, why did he put the condition? That is also there. Bhima putting the condition is also there, please. Here what happens is that Bhima never wanted to marry this lady. That is one thing. Because it is only just one-sided love only. And he did not, at the same time, he did not disown her also, because she was totally wanted to marry him. And here, one thing is that she was also telling that if he doesn't marry, I am going to die. This is my only alternative. I am not going to live anymore. When she is telling like that, and something happens, unnecessarily the sin is going to come to him. So he wanted to satisfy her. At the same time, But he is willing to say that because I'll be with you, because I can bless you. That is a different issue. But thing is that I'm totally in love with you. How can I be with you throughout my life? It is my choice, no. Marriage is my choice. But at the same time, because you are telling like this, I'm going to marry you. So this is what he is giving. He is giving the reason. One more reason what we can assume or infer from this story is that in according to Sanatana Dharma, marriage is not for the sake of lust. Marriage is only for the sake of the progeny only. So in that way, Bhima is actually satisfying her, and she will be getting a boy. Once a boy is there, that is there ends the matter. Why marriages take place is that it is not for kama. People tell. They say that Sanatana Dharma says that when marriage is taking place, it is only for again for the purpose of dharma only. Because we get married, children are born, and when any dharmic karikrama has to happen in the house or in any other place, the wife has to accompany as a dharmic companion only. And because of this reason, as marriage is performed. And not because it's just for the sake of lust, it is not marriage can't take place. And it is not, marriage is not actually a union of between two lustful persons. This is not the thing, please. This is the idea that is there in this all this background. He did not agree for marriage since Dharma is a marriage of elder brother. Initially, he was not agreeing because elder brother has to marry and all these things is there. And this is the storyline of this particular story, please. Once we understand this story, what we have to see is that I think I'll just look into the time. I think still time is there, 7:30 only it is there. Now let us say some other story also we discuss because today we are discussing what is dharmic kama. Dharmic kama we discussed here. And then when two people unite for the purpose of marriage, what would be the stature of those two persons? And that we will be discussing in the story of Parvati and Shiva. We will be discussing. Let us see that story also. We'll see it and what is exactly the story tells here. And we know the background of the story because it was actually in Daksha Yagnam that has taken place. Parvati was that Uma was scorched to death. She was actually she converted herself into ashes by falling into the yajna that was being conducted by Daksha, and she was not there with Shiva at that time. Then at that time there was an Asura by name Tarakasura was there, and this is actually this particular story. When I am telling this story, and this story has been there in Brahmanda Purana, it is there, and we come across in Skanda Purana, it is there, we come across in Markandeya Purana, it is there. And in all the stories, what is happening is that some minor variations are there. Please don't tell that why you are deviating from what is the real story like that. And I am strictly adhering to the story that is there in Mahabharata and Ramayana only, please. Because Skanda Purana, some other storyline is there. And some other storyline means because they are not deviating the main text, they are not deviating, but the descriptions are different. Descriptions are there. So I am actually restricting myself only to Mahabharata and Ramayana. I am restricting. Here, what is happening is that Tarakasura was actually as a demonic forces. He was rising like anything. He prayed for God and he did great tapas for Brahmadeva. Brahmadeva appeared before him and he was asking a boon. And this story I will be very briefly I will be discussing. Only the Kama aspect only we discuss in a detailed and elaborated fashion. So there and the Tarakasura asked for a boon. The boon is that he should not be died in the hands of any person. But Brahmadeva is telling that it is against dharmic rhythm and all this is. I can't give that type of boon. You give any other type of boon you can ask, I will bless you. Then he thought for a plan and he was telling that if at all I am going to be killed, I should be killed by Shiva's son. I should be killed by Shiva's son. At the same time, he should not be. He should be an Ionija, like that. He should not be born out of the womb of any lady. That was the condition here. Here, Shiva is described as Urdhva Retaska person, and he was already in that meditation where he is sitting right now. Because when Draupadi, this Dakshayani, she was burnt into ashes, and he was not interested in the Kailas also. He went to Himalayas and he was doing tapas perfectly. He was doing tapas only. and he was not at all opening his eyes also. Then that situation, Tarakasura felt that Shiva is in that situation, and he can't have any child also, and the Parvati is also not there nearer to him. Even if Parvati is there nearer to him also, my blessing is that he should not be born out of the womb of any lady. So all these things are there. He thought of this boon, and he requested Brahma to give this boon, and Brahma also blessed him. Okay, like that. So then he came out, and he was actually Asurik Pravritti on the rise, and he was destroying all the Ignas and Yagas, and no dharmic activity he was allowing in the world, and he was actually prowling upon Swargaloka, and he was actually throwing away the gods away from that heaven and all these things. He was doing all these things he was doing, like any other Asura. At the time they thought of what they should do, and then they wanted to approach Vishnu. Vishnu told that no, no, it is not like that. Shiva has to get married only. When she get married, maybe when they were together at that time, the rathas of Shiva may emerge at that time. That may be helpful for you for the birth of a baby. So you approach, you try to see that Shiva tapas, he has to come out of the tapas and then he has to marry like that. Then by the time Parvati is by Himavan Putra, that Parvati has born to Himavan, and she is actually, she was there. She was a grown up girl only. And then they requested Himavanta, why don't you send your daughter for the service of Shiva? And he is doing tapas here only. And he has also agreed, and he sent her for the service of Shiva. Every day she was going there, and she was giving him fruits and flowers and all these things. Shiva just opens his eyes, takes all those things, and he was never looking at her at all. Even if he looks at her, it is a nonchalant look, and just like that, casually he will look as if he was looking at a stone, and then he will himself go into tapas. Even though she is decorating herself with all beauty and all these things, she was coming before him. In spite of that, he was not caring her beauty and all these things. He was in that fashion, he was there. Then what to do? Days went on, months went on, years went on, like that. It was going on for a number of years, and he was not at all looking at Parvati with that bent of mind. And then these people went to Manmata. That also we know the story. Manmata is the person. Manmata is actually meaning of Manmata is the person who chants the mind. So that person was brought into the picture, and he was having 5 arrows. Aravindam Ashokancha Chutancha Navamallika. We tell no, those with all those arrows, he was very rightly perfected person, and he was associated with Vasanta Rutu. And then on one day, he was actually waiting for the moment. And one day when Parvati was giving her flowers and fruits and all these things at the time, and this is the right time, Shiva opened his eyes. At the time, he struck the arrows against Shiva. Shiva momentously, he looked at her, and a little bit wavering of mind happened for him. And immediately he realized that he was deviating from the path of Dharma or Tapas. He was deviating. And according to the Mahabharata story, what it does is that he just gets up and he goes to some other place and sits for meditation again. He did not kill Manmata. He just went there. We went there and he was again, because he doesn't want to waste his energies and all this. He sits there and he was doing tapas. And then Manmata, he was not leaving him. And again he went there and tried to disturb him, and again and again. Then that was the situation. What happened is that Shiva opened his third eye, and with the third eye he destroyed Manmata. This is what happened at the time. Parvati realized her mistake. Her mistake is that she was thinking that Shiva can be won over by her physical beauty. Now she understood that. What she understood was that Shiva is not the person to be won over by physical beauty. My physical beauty is what is called, it is waste. It has no value. What I have to do is that I have to attain the spiritual status, to attain that spiritual personality. That is how in love making, what is more important is that you should not fall in love. Always important thing what we have to realize in Sanatana Dharma is that we have to rise in love. Falling in love is something different, and rising in love, please. So you are not supposed to fall in love. You have to rise in love in order to meet the expectations of that other person. The other person is a so pious person, so sattvic person, and he is also what is called, it is actually sattvika pradhana devata, that person, Ishvara. That person is that type of pure consciousness. That person who know what type of person he will marry. He will not marry a person of physical beauty. He doesn't look for physical beauty. What he will be looking at is that he will be looking at some other great thing only. That is called the person who has to elevate herself to the level of that person in what is called piousness or taponishta and all these things. So this type of thing we come across in the story of Tilottama, which is there in Mahabharata again. What happens is Nara and Narayana, these two persons were there. They were actually sitting in, they were doing meditation. At the time, those persons, the meditation, the people wanted to disturb their meditation also. And then I think Indra only, I believe, he wanted to do all what is called, he sent Ramba and other persons and all this is. Then Narayana comes there and he will be telling that you are trying to disturb even Nara and Narayana also. What a great thing you are, what are you thinking about us? See my power like that. He says that he just pinches his uru, the not Tilottama please, Urvashi. And he just pinches her uru and takes out that from that portion he just creates Urvashi. She has emerged out of the Uru of Narayana. Because of this reason she is called Urvashi. See, this beautiful lady I can create right now in your presence. What are the things you are trying to send to us and want to disturb our peace of mind? Please go away like that. Then he realized his mistake and he goes away. That is a different issue. Similarly, here also the thing is that this person Shiva is a pure consciousness person. This person can create any amount of beautiful person in the earth, and he can't care the physical beauty. The person has to elevate herself. She should not fall in love, she has to rise in love. This is the idea here. So that is what Sanatan Dharma says here. Even yesterday's story also we come across Lopa Mudra and Agastya story. There also same thing is there. Agastya was actually not looking at her, not caring at her at also, because when she was in whatever attire she was there, he was not looking at her. He married precisely for the purpose to get a progeny that is there. In spite of that, he was not looking at her. What happened in yesterday's story? Ultimately, when she also has risen to the stature of his stature by virtue of his tapas, and one day she saw that spiritual aura over her face. When she saw the spiritual aura over her face, then he tried to approach her, stating that let us make love today like that. That was there. Everywhere we come across this type of stories. In great people stories only we come across this type of stories we come across. So here, then what happened is that of course rest of the story anyway that is not required. And she sat for tapas. Manmata, burning of Manmata is also what they tell is that Manmata represents what is called the lust, and the lust can be destroyed. Lust is avidya, that can be destroyed only with the power of jnana. And Shiva's Trine third eye is nothing but it is actually a fire of knowledge, the fire of wisdom. The fire of wisdom, when it gets open, what will happen? The lust and all disease will be suppressed. That is the idea of that story. But again, what she does, she did a great tapas. When she did great tapas, what happened is that, and the words were trembling when she was doing that tapas. At that situation, Shiva actually liked Parvati because she is doing great tapas. She approached her in the form of a brahmachari, and he was telling that Shiva, why are you doing this tapas? Shiva is actually a nomadic person. He was roaming in the what is called burial ground. He was a Digambara. And why you love him? I am better than him. You please marry me like that. He was telling that. And then she represents the real nature. She reveals the secret, real nature of Shiva. That she was telling that he was a pure consciousness. He was pervading all the time, all the places. Because of this reason, Dik itself is Ambara. Ambara is actually a cloth. Dik means the entire for all the directions. The directions of the Akasha and everything is Ambara. Because of this reason, he is Digambara is represented like that. His Trishula is there. Trishula represents Satvika, Rajasic, and Tamasic forces, and all these things it is under his control. And then she was also telling that he wants us in the burial grounds because burial grounds is actually it represents the wheel of death and birth. And there he is actually he is authority over that burial ground because he is authority over the wheel of birth and death, and he is a person who can give you moksha. And when he opens the third eye, it represents Nana Netra. Like this, he reveals the real nature of Ishvara. He reveals when she reveals the real nature of Ishvara, Ishvara realizes that she has really reached to the state of that Taponishta, by virtue of which she has attained this knowledge. So when she felt like that, she is also having that Gnana Netra has come out of her, revealing of all these things, because other people can't reveal all these things. When she revealed all these things, he realized that she has really attained that knowledge she has attained. Now this person is eligible to become my wife. Then he married her. That is how this karma has been described in Mahabharata. Wherever you come across this type of stories, both in Ramayana and Mahabharata, we have to really scrutinize the stories. When you scrutinize the stories, we come across beautiful dharmic discussions will take place. And why the purpose of marriage it is there, that will be discussed. Why marriage has to take place, and is it good or bad for making what is called love making, whether it is permitted or not permitted. Should it be something that is a secret, secretly should be done, not required, it is actually open one only, anybody can love any person of that nature, because in the society actually sex is not a taboo for Hindu society. So this is how the dharmic way of looking at karma. Because before summarizing after summarizing this content of the story, I would also like to ask you a few questions. Like as usual, the question is that does Hindu society really look at sex as a taboo? That is there, no? Because that is we have to discuss and elaborate. And what is dharmic karma and adharmic karma? How do you distinguish it? And when the karma comes and when it is not attained, how it normally leads as per Bhagavad Gita. And then what are the other stories that normally describe this type of anecdotes and incidents and all these things? So these type of questions I can pose to all of you, and I think you might have asked me so many questions by this time. So now the time is roughly.
Yeah, it is 7:40.
Now I'll be closing my lecture, and you can ask me some what is called some questions. If you want to ask, you can ask, please.
Right. Thank you, Nagaraja garu. I mean, it was very nice again listening to you, knowing new things. And I'll read out the chat questions in the chat box first. So first question is, the lady Asura is Hidimbi or Hidimba?
Sorry, this is in Telugu Mahabharata. It is written down as Hidimbi, but in Vedavyasa Mahabharata, it is Hidimba only.
Okay.
No
Right.
problem, sir. That is actually when
Yeah.
we are discussing the important vital aspect of those things, the minor aspects can be ignored, even if it is not.
Yeah. But
That is what I
anyway,
feel. Okay, sir.
thank you. Next, why approaching married man is adharma when multiple marriages are allowed?
So in Sanatana, the old places, it is mentioned that the marriage for a man to marry so many persons is actually permitted only, because one upastamba can be having many, what we can call designs can be put for one upastamba, but one design can't be having to so many upastambas you cannot put it. That we come across in the story of Draupadi, we come across. But here one person can marry many persons. But in the case of Rama, the story is that Rama is having a vratam, and he will be telling that vratam also, because I have taken up this vratam, because steadfastly I am following this particular vratam. Because apart from dharma, each and every person will be having some vratams. That is, vratam means this is a thing for which I stand for. A person can tell very openly, he can tell that for this I stand for. Even though it is dharma to marry, one man can marry so many persons in those days, but still I am having a vratam. The vratam is that I will be marrying only one person only. When the vratam is there, it is an addendum to that particular dharmic principle. You can think that it is an addendum. Similarly, we come across a very beautiful story in Mahabharata. The story is that Arjuna is having a vratam. The vratam is that if anybody is going to humiliate his Gandivam, the immediately he wanted to destroy that person. I think persons may be knowing the story. And the story telling that time is not there, I believe. So here the Vratam is there. That story I am not telling anyway. Here many persons will be having that some other thing they will be having. That some other thing is actually we have to understand that is actually an addendum for that. It is what is called one more addition that is there for the existing dharmic principles. That is one more thing. That one more thing Rama was following it, and he was also telling the same thing to Hidimba and not Shurpanaka. But Shurpanaka was not leaving him. So that is the reason, please, here.
Okay.
Otherwise, he could have married. Nothing wrong.
Right. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Why Bhima said, when a boy is born, it could have been a girl also. Why condition of boy only?
Yes, sir. That is also a good question only. But here, the people tell that, and it's difficult to answer. But a boy, girl also could have been born. Maybe here, normally in those days, it was felt that the person who is more powerful at that particular meeting or union, and that person will be having an edge over other person like that. That is some belief. The belief, it is not, of course, it is not written down in Shastras and all other places. But it is a belief that Bhima's powers are much more than the power of the Hidimba or whoever it may be, other person, whoever it may be. Normally, Bhima will beget son only. In that way only, it is a positive only, what is called Bhima. Why should he, Dharmaraja should assume that a girl is going to born? Maybe in a positive way he thought. Maybe if girl is born, well, let us see, we don't know what is going to happen. With her also, he could have make use of her services or her son's services. Maybe we don't know. Because sometimes a girl is born. Dauhitra is also as good as son only, no? According to Sanatana Dharma, Dauhitra is as good as son only. He could have engaged in the services of his son, we don't know. But here, a positive way, he was thinking that Bhima will be getting son only. So that may be the reason. But he was assuming that a boy is going to born. Maybe maybe you are also correct. Sometimes girl also could have been born. If girl is born, they could have made use of the Dauhitra, the daughter's son. They could have used it. We don't know. But anyway, no, boy only was born, and he was also a dharmic person as per the estimates for the Dharmaraja. And again, he was Asura. And all these things happened according to their estimations only. But that happened also. That is it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think the questions in the chat box are limited today.
Yes, sir.
So, there's one more question. In multiple marriages, it was not wrong, but first the male to marry girl belonging to their varna, like Brahmins. First to Brahman, afterwards after varna. I think this question is not framed properly. Anandrao garu, you can come out and you can pose your question directly. Okay.
Yes, sir.
You can raise your hand so that I can unmute you.
Sir,
Yeah, you can talk.
am I audible, sir?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, please.
In multiple marriages, it was not wrong. First the male to marry a girl belonging to their varna. Like Brahmin first has to marry Brahmin, then afterwards he can go for marrying pertaining to other varnas. So also a Kshatriya has to marry. If he wants to marry a Brahmin girl, first he has to marry a Kshatriya of his varna. Then he can go for marrying the other varnas ladies. Is it correct, sir?
Here, and I believe that even Shastras also what they will be telling is that, and this aspect I have never read also, because only Brahmin has to marry Brahmin first and then Kshatriya, Vaishya and all these things. Anyway, even if it is there also, what we can tell you here is that, and here we can't assume that all Asuras are actually, who are Asuras actually? Asuras can be Brahmins, Asuras can be Kshatriyas, and Asuras can be Vaishyas. That is there, no, because it is a pravrutti. The person's what is bent of mind, how they are behaving in the society. If Asuric powers are there for them, Tamo Guna is there for them, they are Asuras. That is the reason why Ravanasura, even though he was an Asura, he was a Brahmin. Not all Asuras are Brahmins again. So Daivi Sampatti and Asuri Sampatti are the two things. The Asuri Sampatti is predominant in Hidimba or in the Hidimbasura. That doesn't mean that he was what is called Kshatriya or Brahmana. Who was he? We don't know. In Mahabharata, nowhere it is mentioned. This Varna, it is not mentioned. He was an Asura. Maybe Kshatriya only, we don't know. I got the point. No?
Right.
Because,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe Kshatriya, that is also there. Even
Right.
if we assume that even a Brahmin has to marry Brahmin first and Kshatriya next, this I think I have never read that there is some sort of order has to be maintained. I never read it. Assuming that this is correct also, she could have been a Kshatriya also, because
Right.
Asuric Pravarti is there for her. And Kshatriya also can be an Asura. That is the thing, sir. Because we come across many stories in Mahabharata, particularly Vishwamitra story, we come across a king has become an Asura. That is also there. So,
Thank you,
Right.
sir.
Asura can also be Kshatriya.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
So other question is how Asuras got powers?
But there are in our actually our way of understanding Sanatana Dharma or in scriptures and all these things, there are different persons are mentioned apart from human beings. That is called Yakshas are there, Gandharvas are there, Kimpurusha are there, Kindaras are there, Asuras are there. This type of persons, many type of creatures they have mentioned. All these persons, everywhere these people will be having some exceptional powers, which normally not being endowed for human or normal human beings. So how they have got it and all these things, even how Yakshas has got and how Gandharvas have got it, we don't know how, for that matter, how gods will get the powers. And this is actually, it is from the beginning, whichever text we read it, they will be mentioning that these persons are apart from human beings. The human beings are actually that the entire earth they are pervaded. And there are some people who are distinguished human beings. Those persons are all these persons: Yakshas, Gandharvas, Kimpurushas, Kinnaras, Asuras, Daityas, and all these persons. And they are having some special powers. They are having like that. It is mentioned. How they got their powers and all this is, I don't know, because it is actually it is there. The powers are there for them. Gods also it is there. Why? How they got the powers means they are having the powers here also. They might have got the powers.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
The other question is
Uh.
in Draupadi Swayamvara, Arjuna was in Brahmana Vesha.
Yes, sir.
So how Kshatriya Kanya was allowed to marry Brahmin?
Yes, sir. That is also a question, sir. Here, question is that here, when Draupadi marriage took place, the Swayamvara took place. The Swayamvara was actually conceived only for the purpose of giving Draupadi for marriage to Arjuna only. And here, in order to avoid Karna only, that entire thing was devised. That is called bow, arrows, and all these things, and all these things are put precisely for the reason that Karna also could have done all these feats. And Draupadi Swayamvara, we see the anecdote of Draupadi Swayamvara. What happened is that, and many Kshatriyas come forward, try to aim the arrow, and it is not like that seeing something what is from the water and putting the bow. It's not there in Mahabharata. Whatever there in Mahabharata is that there is one yantra was there. It was revolving yantra is there. There one object was fixed. The object has to be aimed with the arrows. The arrow has to go through the yantra, revolving yantra, and it has to hit the object. That is the only thing. Seeing the water and all these things is not there. And even Duryodhana tries it. Other person Jarasandha tries it, and some other Shishupala tries it, and many other persons tries it, which they could not achieve. At the stage, Karna enters to the place. When Karna enters to the place, he was about to put the arrow. At the time, Draupadi comes out and says that Naham Marayami Sutam, like that she pronounces. I am not going to marry this Sutaputra like that. It is her choice, nothing wrong. He wanted to marry only Arjuna, only she wanted to marry. At the time, what happened is that, and she is having the reason to tell that Suta I don't want to marry, because it is her choice, because her behavior. She says that I don't want to marry. Then Karna, he does not even aim the arrow. And Krishna putting the chakra and all these things are not there in Mahabharata. And Karna just like that throws the bow and arrow there, and he will go away. When he goes out, then ultimately, as you told, Arjuna comes forward in the guise of Brahmana only. but nobody was there in the entire field. And then Arjuna comes in the form of Brahmin. When he comes in the form of Brahmin, he can't say that a Brahmin I don't marry. I can't marry because the conditions of Swayamvara is such. What are the conditions of Swayamvara? The Dushtradyumna announces the conditions of the Swayamvara in the beginning itself. What she says is that this lady is my daughter, my sister. This lady will be getting married to that person who is going to aim all these 5 arrows and hit the target. That is one thing. Second thing is that Rupena, Kulena, Balena cha. The 3 things he will be using. In the Rupam, in the Kulam, and Balam, he should be the higher caste only. Rupena, Kulena, Balena cha. Like that he will be mentioning very clearly. He will be mentioning. In handsomeness, he should be very handsome person. Second thing is that in Kula, he should be a higher caste person. Balam, that he should be a great person. When Brahman is approaching, is that he is satisfying all the 3 conditions here. Rupam is there for Arjuna. Kulam is there, he is a Brahmin, even though if he is coming in the form of the guise of Brahmin also, the Brahmin is higher caste only, a higher Varna only in those days. Caste I should not use, please, because there is no caste. Strictly speaking, the caste was not there at the time. Brahmin, he was coming in that form. And he is Rupa, Kula, and Balam. All the 3 things he is satisfying the conditions. He can't say no. Let us see what will happen. She can't say, like Suta comes, he can tell, Naham Varayami Sitam, Naham Varayami Sitam, she tells. But when Arjuna comes, she will be telling is that Arjuna comes in the ways of Brahmana also. Even then also Brahmana is higher Varna only. She can't say Rupam is there, Kulam is there, Balam is there. People will object if she says, no, I don't want to marry this Brahmin. He can't tell. It is a Swayamvaram again. She has seen that the face of Arjuna, and he actually she is also okay for him. That was the situation. Then why she should say no? That is the thing. She doesn't want to, because in those days, she is, even though she is Kshatriya lady marrying a Brahmin is no problem. Because many places we come across the storyline. Kshatriya Brahmin man marrying a Kshatriya woman is quite many places we come across in Mahabharata, and this is no exception. She could not object it. Even though if this condition is there, she could not object it, because whatever Dushtadimna has told as conditions for Swayamvara, she has satisfied. So she did not tell.
Right. Also, I think when we say a higher Varna, it is not one above the other.
Yes, sir.
But in the plane, that there should be from a higher level of thinking and what is intelligence, warriorship, etc., etc. In the higher level, not on the Suta level, I mean, lower level. That's what I think is the point. That then when we say higher Varna, immediately the question comes: is Brahman Varna more than Kshatriya Varna or Vaishya Varna? It is. I don't think it is like that. It is. They are all on the same plane, but then they are of a higher quality or strength or intelligence, whatever the parameters are. Yeah. The questions on the chat box are over. Now people can raise their hand and question in case you want to have a direct interaction. There is 5 minutes time. Anyone? If there is no one, yesterday some people had questions. So in case they want to ask, they can ask, or we can ask Satyaji to do the pradhana. Yeah, Satyaji, you can do the pradhana.
स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महीं महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः सुखमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु काले वर्षतु पर्जन्यः पृथिवी सस्यशालिनी देशोऽयं क्षोभरहितो ब्राह्मणाः सन्तु निर्भयाः अपुत्राः पुत्रिणः सन्तु पुत्रिणः सन्तु पौत्रिणः अधनाः सधनाः सन्तु जीवन्तु शरदां शतं सत्यं वद धर्मं चर स्वाध्यायान् मा प्रमदः सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सर्वे जना सुखिनो भवन्तु, लोकाः समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु। स्वस्ति।
ధన్యవాదాలండి సతీ గారు.
नमस्ते।
Let us all stand for national anthem. जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। पंजाब सिंधु गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्ज्वल चलत तरंगा। तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा। जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे। जय हिंद जय हिंद। Just a minute. Stop recording.